Apocrypha book, the testaments of the 12 Patriarchs, the testament of Yahuda, a copy of the words of Yahuda, what things he spoke to his sons before he died. They gathered themselves together, therefore, and came to him. He said to them, "Hearken, my children, to Yahuda, your father. I was the fourth son born to my father Jacob and Leah. My mother named me Yahuda, saying, I give thanks to Yahuwah, because he has given me a fourth son also. I was swift in my youth and obedient to my father in everything. And I honored my mother and my mother's sister. And it came to pass, when I became a man, that my father poured favor upon me, saying, You shall be a king. Prosperity shall be yours, and you shall prosper in all things. And Yahuda showed me favor in all my works. And Yahuwah showed me favor in all my works, both in the field and in the house. I know that I raced a hind and caught it, and prepared the meat for my father, and he did eat. And the roes I used to master in the chase, and overtake all that was in the plains. A wild mare I overtook, and caught it, and tamed it. I slew a lion, and plucked a kid out of its mouth. I took a bear by its paw, and hurled it down a cliff, and it was crushed. I outran the wild boar, and seizing it as I ran, I tore it asunder. A leopard and chevron leapt upon my dog, and I caught it by the tail, and I hurled it on the rocks, and it was broken in twain. I found a wild ox feeding in the fields, and seizing it by the horns, and whirling it about, and stunning it, I cast it from me, and slew it. And when the two kings of the Canaanim came, sheathed in armor against our flocks, and much people with them, single-handedly I rushed upon the king of Chatzar, and smote him on the graves, and dragged him down, and so I slew him. And the other, the king of Tapach, as he sat upon his horse, I slew, and so I scattered all his people. Achor the king, a man of giant stature, I found, hurling javelins before and behind as he sat on horseback. I took up a stone of 60 pounds of weight, and hurled it, and smote his horse, and killed it. And I fought with this other for 2 hours, and I clave his shield in twain, and I chopped off his feet, and killed him. And I was stripping off his breastplate. Behold, 9 men, his companions, began to fight with me. And I wound my garment in my hand, and I slung stones at them, and killed 4 of them, and the rest fled. And Jacob, my father, slew Beelisath, king of all the kings, a giant in strength, 12 cubits high. All fear fell upon them, and they ceased warring with us. Therefore my father was free from anxiety and the wars when I was with my brethren. For he saw a vision concerning me, that a messenger of might followed me everywhere, that I should not be overcome. And in the south there came upon us a greater war than that in Shechem. And I joined in the battle array with my brethren, and pursued 1,000 men, and slew of them 200 men, and 4 kings. And I went up upon the wall, I slew 4 mighty men, and so we captured Chatzar, and took all the spoil. On the next day we departed to Aratan, a city strong and walled and inaccessible, threatening us with death. But I and Gad approached on the east side of the city, and Raban and Lui on the west, and they that were upon the wall, thinking that we were alone, were drawn down against us. And so my brothers secretly climbed up the wall on both sides by stakes, and entered the city, while the men knew it not. And we took it with the edge of the sword. And as for those who had taken refuge in the tower, we set fire to the tower, and took both it and them. And as we were departing, the men of Tapach set upon our spoil, and delivering it up to our sons, we fought with them as far as Tapach. And we slew them, and burnt their city, and took the spoil, all that was in it. And when I was at the waters at Kozabah, the men of Yabal came against us to battle. We fought with them and routed them, and their allies from Shiloh we slew, and we did not leave them. We did not leave them power to come against us. And the men of Machir came upon us the 5th day to seize our spoil, and we attacked them and overcame them in fierce battle. For there was a host of mighty men among them, and we slew them before they had gone up the ascent. And when we came to their city, their women rolled upon us stones from the brow of the hill on which the city stood. And I and Shamawan hid ourselves behind the town, and seized upon the heights, and destroyed this city also. And the next day it was told us that the king of the city of Gash with a mighty host was coming against us. I, therefore, and Dan feigned ourselves to be Emorine, and as allies we went into their city. And in the depth of night our brethren came, and we opened to them the gates, and we destroyed all the men and their substance, and we took for prey all that was theirs. And that 3 walls we cast down, and we drew near the Thamna, where all the substance of the hostile kings. Then, being exalted by them, I was therefore wroth, and rushed against them to the summit, and they kept slinging against me stones and darts. And had not my brother Dan aided me, they would have slain me. We came upon them therefore with wrath, and they all fled. And passing by another way, we besought my father, and he made peace with them, and we did them no more hurt. And they became tributary to us, and we restored to them their spoil. And I built Dama, and my father built Pabael, and I was 20 years old when this war befell us. And then the Canaanim feared me and my brethren. And I had much cattle, and I had for chief herdsman Aram the Adulami. And when I went to him, I saw Parsaba, king of Adullam, and he spoke to us. He made us a feast, and when I was heated, he gave me his daughter Bathshua to be my woman. She bore me Onan, Shelach, and 2 of them Yahuwah smote. For Shelach lived, and his children are ye. And 18 years my father abode in peace with his brother Esau, and his sons with us. After that we came from Aram Naharim, from Laban. And when 18 years were fulfilled, in the 40th year of my life, Esau, the brother of my father, came upon us with a mighty and strong people. And Jacob smote Esau with an arrow, and he was taken up and wounded on Mount Seir. And as he went, he died. And we pursued after the sons of Esau. But they had a city with walls of iron, gates of brass, and we could not enter into it. And we encamped around and besieged it. And when they opened not unto us in 20 days, I set up a ladder on the side of all, and with my shield upon my head I went up, sustaining the assault of stones, upwards of 3 talents of weight. And I slew 4 of their mighty men, and Rabban and Gad slew 6 others. Then they asked us terms of peace, and having taken counsel with our father, we received them as tributaries. And they gave us 500 cores of wheat, 500 baths of oil, 500 measures of wine, until the famine when we went down to Mitzrayim. And after all these things, my son took to be his woman Tamar from Aram Naharim, a daughter of Aram. Now was wicked, and he was in need concerning Tamar, because she was not of the land of Canaan. And on the 3rd night, a messenger of Yahuda smote him, and he had not known her according to the evil craftiness of his mother, for he did not wish to have children by her. And in the days of the wedding feast I gave Onan to her in marriage, and he also in wickedness knew her not, though he spent with her a whole year. And when I threatened him, he went in unto her, but he spilled the seed on the ground according to the command of his mother, and he also died through wickedness. And I wished to give Shelach also to her, but his mother did not permit it, for she wrought evil against Tamar, because she was not of the daughters of Canaan, as she also herself was. And I knew that the race of the Canaanim was wicked, but the impulse of youth blinded my mind. And when I saw her pouring out wine, owing to the intoxication of wine, I was deceived, and took her, although my father had not counseled it. And while I was away, she went and took for Shelach a woman from Canaan. And when I knew what she had done, I cursed her in the anguish of my soul. And she also died in her wickedness, together with her sons. And after these things, while Tamar was a widow, she heard after 2 years that I was going up to shear my sheep, and adorned herself in bridal array, and sat in the city Enam by the gate. For it was a law of the Amorim, that she who was about to marry should sit in fornication 7 days by the gate. Therefore, being drunk with wine, I did not recognize her, and her beauty deceived me through the fashion of her adorning. And I turned aside to her and said, "Let me go into you." And she said, "What will you give me?" And I gave her my staff and my girdle and the diadem of my kingdom in pledge. And I went in unto her, and she conceived. And not knowing what I had done, I wished to slay her. But she privily sent my pledges and put me to shame. And when I called her, I heard also the secret words which I spoke when lying with her in my drunkenness, and I could not slay her, because it was from Yahuda. For I said, lest happily she did it in subtlety, having received the pledge from another woman. But I came not again near her while I lived, because I had done this abomination in all Yeshua. Moreover, they who were in the city said there was no harlot in the gate, because she came from another place, and sat for a while in the gate. And I thought that no one knew that I had gone into her. And after this we came into Mitzrayim to Yusuf because of the famine. And I was 46 years old, and 73 years lived I in Mitzrayim. And now I command you, my children, hearken to Yahuda your father, and keep my sayings to perform all the ordinances of Yahuwah, and to obey the commands of Alua. And do not walk after your lusts, nor in the imagination of your thoughts and haughtiness of heart, and glory not in the deeds and strength of your youth. For this is also evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. And since I also glorified that in wars no comely woman's face ever enticed me, and I reproved Raban my brother concerning Bilhah, the woman of my father, the Ruha of jealousy and fornication arrayed themselves against me, until I lay with Bashua the Canaanite, and Tamar, who was espoused to my sons. For I said to my father-in-law, I will take counsel with my father, and so will I take your daughter. And he was unwilling, but he showed me a boundless store of gold in his daughter's behalf, for he was a king. And he adorned her with gold and pearls, and caused her to pour out wine for us at the feast with the beauty of women. And the wine turned aside my eyes, and pleasure blinded my heart. I became enamored of, and I laid with her, transgressing the commandment of Yahuda and the commandment of my fathers, and I took her to be my woman. And Yahuda rewarded me according to the imagination of my heart, inasmuch as I had no joy in her children. And now, my children, I say unto you, be not drunk with wine, for wine turns the mind away from the truth, and inspires the passion of lust, and leads the eyes into error. The Ruah of fornication has wine as a minister to give pleasure to the mind, for these two also take away the mind of a man. For if a man drink wine to drunkenness, it disturbs the mind with filthy thoughts, leading to fornication, and heats the body to carnal union. And if the occasion of the lust be present, he works the sin and is not ashamed. Such is the inebriated man, my children. For he who is drunken reverences no man. For lo, it made me also err, so that I was not ashamed of the multitude in the city, and that before the eyes of all I turned aside unto Tamar, and I wrought a great sin, and I uncovered the covering of my son's shame. After I had drunk wine, I reverenced not the commandment of Alua. I took a woman of Canaan to be my woman. For much discretion needs the man who drinks wine, my children. And herein is discretion in drinking wine. A man may drink so long as he preserves modesty. But if he goes beyond this limit, the ruah of deceit attacks his mind, and it makes the drunkard to talk filthily, and to transgress, and to not be ashamed, but even to glory in his shame, and to account himself honorable. He that commits fornication is not aware when he suffers loss, and is not ashamed when put to dishonor. For even though a man be a king and commit fornication, he is stripped of his kingship by becoming the slave of fornication, as I myself also suffered. For I gave my staff, that is the stay of my tribe, and my girdle, that is my power, and my diadem, that is the glory of my kingdom, and hindered me, and I repented of these things. Wine and flesh I ate not until my old age, nor did I behold any joy. For the minister of Alua, his messenger, showed me that forever do women bear rule over king and beggar alike. And from the king they take away his glory, and from the valiant man his might, and from the beggar even that little which is the stay of his poverty. Observe, therefore, my children, the right limits in wine. For there are in it 4 evil ruhas of lust, hot desire, of profligacy, a filthy lucre. If you drink wine in gladness, be modest in the fear of Alua. For if in your gladness the fear of Alua departs, then drunkenness arises and shamelessness steals in. But if you would live soberly, do not touch wine at all, lest you sin in words of outrage, and infightings, and slanders, and transgressions of the commandments of Alua, and you perish before your time. Moreover, wine reveals the mysteries of Alua and men, even as I also revealed the commandments of Alua and the mysteries of Jacob my father to the Canaanite women, Bathshua, whom Alua bade me not to reveal. And wine is a cause both of war and confusion. And now I command you, my children, not to love money, nor to gaze upon the beauty of women, because for the sake of money and the beauty I was led astray to Bathshua, the Canaanite, for I know that because of these two things shall my race fall into wickedness. For even wise men among my sons shall they marry, and shall cause the kingdom of Yahuda to be diminished, which Yahuwah gave me because of my obedience to my father. For I never caused grief to Jacob my father, for all things whatsoever he commanded, I did. And Yiddishek, the father of my father, he poured his favor upon me to be a king also in Yisrael, and Jacob further poured favor upon me in like manner. And I know that from me shall the kingdom be established. And I know what evils you will do in the last days. Beware therefore, my children, of fornication and the love of money, and hearken to Yahuda your father, for these things withdraw you from the Torah of Alua, and blind the inclination of the soul, which teach arrogance, and suffer not a man to have compassion upon his neighbor. They rob his soul of all goodness, and oppress him with toils and troubles, and drive away sleep from him, and devour his flesh. And he hinders the sacrifices of Alua, and he remembers not the favor of Alua. He hearkens not to a prophet when he speaks, and resents the words of righteousness. For he is a slave of two contrary passions, and cannot obey Alua, because they have blinded his soul, and he walks in the day as if he is in night. My children, the love of money leads to idolatry, because when led astray through money, men name as Alua those who are not Alua, and it causes him who has it to fall into madness. For the sake of money I lost my children, and had not my repentance and my humiliation and the prayers of my father been accepted, I should have died childless. But the Alua of my fathers had mercy on me, because I did it in ignorance. And the prince of deceit blinded me, and I sinned as a man and as flesh, being corrupted through sins, and I learned my own weakness while thinking myself invincible. Know therefore, my children, that the two Ruhas wait upon man, the Ruah of truth and the Ruah of deceit. And in the midst is the Ruah of understanding of the mind, to which it belongs to turn whatsoever it will. And the works of truth and the works of deceit are written upon the hearts of men, and each one of them Yahuwah knows. And there is no time at which the works of men can be hid. For for on the heart itself have they been written down before Yahuwah. And the Ruach of truth testifies all things and accuses all, and the sinner is burnt up by his own heart and cannot raise his face to the judge. And now, my children, I command you, love Louis, that ye may abide, and exalt not yourselves against him, lest ye be utterly destroyed. For to me, Yahuwah gave the kingdom, and to him the priesthood. And he set the kingdom beneath the priesthood. To me he gave the things upon the earth, and to him the things in the heavens. And as the heavens is higher than the earth, so is the priesthood of Yahuwah higher than the earthly kingdom, unless it falls away through sin from Yahuwah and is dominated by the earthly kingdom. For the angel of Yahuwah said to me, Yahuwah chose him rather than you to draw near to him and to eat at his table and to offer him the first fruits of the choice things of the sons of Yisrael. But you shall be king of Jacob. You shall be amongst them as the sea. For as on the sea, just and unjust are tossed about, some taken into captivity, while some enriched. So also shall every race of men be in you. Some shall be impoverished, being taken captive. Others grow rich by plundering the possessions of others. For the kings shall be as the sea monsters. They shall swallow men like fish. The sons and daughters of free men shall they enslave. Houses, lands, flocks, money shall they plunder. And with the flesh of many shall they in covetousness be uplifted. And they shall be false prophets like tempests. And they shall persecute all righteous men. And Yahuwah shall bring upon them divisions, one against another. There shall be continual wars in Yisrael, and among men of another race shall my kingdom be brought to an end, until the Yeshua, the salvation of Yisrael, shall come, until the appearing of Yahuwah, that Jacob and all the other nations may rest in peace. And he shall guard the might of my kingdom forever. For Yahweh swore to me with an oath that he would not destroy the kingdom from my seed forever. Now therefore I have much grief, my children, because of your lewdness and witchcrafts and idolatries which you shall practice against the kingdom, following them that have familiar spirits, diviners and devils of air. You shall make your daughters singing girls and harlots. You shall mingle in the abominations of the other nations, for which things' sake Yahuwah shall bring upon you famine and pestilence, death and the sword, beleaguering by enemies and revilings of friends, the slaughter of children, the rape of your women, the plundering of possessions, the burning of the temple of Yahuwah, the laying waste of the land, the enslavement of yourselves among the other nations. And they shall make some of you eunuchs for their women, until Yahweh visit you, when with perfect heart you repent and walk in all his commandments. He shall bring you up from captivity from among the other nations. And after these things shall a star arise to you from Jacob in peace, and a man shall arise from my seed like the sun of righteousness, walking with the sons of men in meekness and righteousness. And no sin shall be found in him, and the heavens shall be opened unto him to pour out the Ruah, the favor of the holy. And he shall pour out the Ruah of grace upon you, and ye shall be unto him sons in truth, and ye shall walk in his commandments, first and last. This branch of Alua, and this fountain giving life to all, then shall the scepter of my kingdom shine forth, and from your root shall arise a stem, and from it shall grow a rod of righteousness to the other nations, to judge and to save all that call upon Yahuwah. And after these things shall Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov arise unto life, and I and my brethren shall be chiefs of the tribes of Yisrael. Louis first, I the second, Yosef third, Benjamin fourth, Shamawan fifth, Yishakar sixth, and so all in order. And Yahweh blessed Louis, and the angel of the presence, me, the powers of glory, Shamawan the heaven, Ruaban the earth, Yishakar the sea, Zabulum the mountains, Yosaf the tabernacle, Benanim the luminaries, Dan, Eden, Naphtali the sun, Gad the moon, Ashar. And ye shall be the people of Yahweh, and shall have one tongue, and there shall be no ruha of deceit of Baal, for he shall be cast into the fire forever. And they who have died in grief shall arise in joy, and those who are poor for Yahuwah's sake shall be made rich. And they who are put to death for Yahuwah's sake shall awake to life. And the deer of Jacob shall run in joyfulness, and the eagles of Yisrael shall fly in gladness, and all the people shall glorify Yahuwah forever. Guard, therefore, my children, all the Torah of Yahuwah, for there is hope for all them who hold fast unto his ways. Again, guard, therefore, my children, all the Torah of Yahuwah, for there is hope for all them who hold fast unto his ways. And he said unto them, Behold, I die before your eyes this day, 119 years old. Let no one bury me in costly apparel, nor tear open my bowels, for this shall they who are kings do. And carry me up to Chevron with you. And Yahuda, when he had said these things, fell asleep, and his sons did according to all whatsoever he commanded them. And they buried him in Chevron with his fathers. The Testament of Yahuda. Hallelujah. Yahuwah.